Well, with that being said, you know exactly what that means. The first game on the slate for 5 for Friday is the University of Texas, San Antonio, UTSA, taking on UAB. I think this is going to be one of those very underrated football games. And I don't even just say that because, this is a mandatory thing for us now, it seems, to where we have to cover UTSA. And by no means am I having a gun pointed to my head. This is something that I'm really excited about doing, covering
absolutely.
UTSA. But when you look at this football game, it's one of those games that's sneaky good. And UTSA obviously already hit their bowl win, 6-2. We talked about there's a possibility that if they go 10-2, we could maybe see them in consideration for an NY6 bowl. I think they're on the NY6 bubble, if you will, if they win out. This is a pretty tough task, though, for UAB. I think it all serves around what happens with their quarterback position. Obviously, UAB has some injuries. Will Hopkins go? Will he not? If he doesn't go, I think it's a little easier for UTSA. But they match up pretty well for the Roadrunners. UAB does, Steve.
They do. And it's kind of funny because UAB's strength, theoretically, is pass defense.
Right.
And, of course, the Roadrunners have that terrific – it's not even a trio of receivers. You have Cardenas, the tight end. You've got 3 great wide receivers, all 6'3" or taller. They throw out of the backfield. So, in theory, it would be a battle of the strengths. But this has been a very difficult year for the Blazers. I think they had much higher hopes at the beginning of the year of being at least in the conversation for the conference title. And, they have yet to win on, they've yet to win on the road. They fare pretty well. Their point differential at home is pretty good, but I don't know that they've really faced a team like UTSA. Now they have fared relatively well against other conference foes. But, I just don't see – I'm even worried about their bowl eligibility at this point. Technically at 4-4, UAB is still under bowl consideration. But, if they lose this one, you have to wonder, do they get down? Last year they led the game against UTSA. UTSA had some close calls last year. And this year they've had some really competitive down to the last position kind of games as well. And they were up, and they decided to, rather than go with the 4th and literally inches to go for it, they punted. And Frank Harris led the Roadrunners down the field. They scored. They came away with the win. And certainly I guarantee you that was in the file when they decided to make a coaching change at UAB. That decision, I think it totally derailed their season last year. So, they're at home. It's it's a possible thing for UAB, but I just think UTSA, this is a team. I'm not going to say a team of destiny because that's way too cliched, but this is just a team where these players were meant to be in that program, in those games this year. Everything has just fallen into place. Traylor has just done an amazing job building this program. And Roadrunner fans, you need to get out there. I understand for the kids on campus. They're like, well, the Alamo Dome isn't really very close to, campus. Yeah, okay. You're not going to have many opportunities. As good as this program I think is going to be going forward, you're not going to have as many opportunities to root for a team like this. So get out there. You'll get an Uber if you're out having a few friendly beverages to get home. Get an Uber and go out to the Alamo Dome. You're watching history. You do not have teams like this come along very often. And I know it seems like we're total homers. Neither of us are from Texas or San Antonio. I've been to San Antonio. I've been to Spurs games. But this is a special team. We've both watched enough college sports to know when we're watching something special. So I think we're going to have a special outing. I think UTSA needs to have more than a one-score win in order to get some more votes to get them in the top 25. Why they're not there now, we could do a week's worth of shows, on the polls and everything. But I think they have a chance to have a signature win. They're not going to blow them out, but have a signature solid win from first quarter to fourth quarter. Get them some more votes and get them into serious bowl contention as far as high revenue, high profile bowls.
Let me play devil's advocate here just for a little bit, just because there is that possibility. I mean, UAB is undefeated at home right now. For the record, UTSA did receive 1 vote in the last 2 polls. I'm not sure if they received any votes for the college football poll. That's one that I didn't see any of the additional votes for that one, so I'm not really quite sure. If they did let me know. They did not.
Yeah,
okay,
they did not. Yeah.
So, but they did receive 2 for the last 2 weeks in the AP poll. So we'll see if they can find their way into the college football playoff poll. That's the one that obviously means that makes sense and is meaningful now once we get this far into the season. UAB, would we see 3 losses in a row for this team? That's where they would put them at. Again, I think it all relies on this quarterback here. I mean, Zeno, he's the backup. He was the backup at Baylor. Heads on over to UAB here. He's just not the guy. I mean, he had a hard time against FAU last week, and obviously against Western Kentucky. If it wasn't for Hopkins going down, I think UAB wins that football game. They only lost by 3. You know how UTSA played against Western Kentucky. It was a close one as well. So if Hopkins can go, I think this game's a lot closer than it is. Right now, the line's even. You can see it, I think, as close to as -1.5 in favor of UTSA. On the ESPN line, as we're talking right now, the line is even. There is no spread. So you pick your money line and you go for it. If Hopkins goes, I think UTSA might have a tough time. If they don't go and they can find a way to stop the run, McBride has seemed to be relied on in the last 2 weeks more than any other week, with the exception of that crazy 200-yard game he had against Georgia Southern, then I think that they stand a good chance. I really like UTSA to finish the season 10-2. When I look at their schedule, I think they can absolutely do it. This might be their toughest task to get the rest of that challenge done. Because they're playing UAB at home, they're probably one of the toughest 4-4 teams in all of college football. They're underachieving compared to their schedule. This is a team, just like you said, Steve, should be in the Conference USA runnings. They had a tough loss against Western Kentucky. They had a tough loss against Rice. I mean, hell, they really had a tough loss against Liberty too. This is a really tough team. Although they only lost by FAU by 7, they lost that football game last week. Zeno was just, like I said, just not the guy. They are a completely different offense when he's in charge, when he's under center. That they did have a full week to adjust with him if he's the guy, but there are so many questions on who will be starting. I'm sure they have more of the answers than we do out there, and we'll find out on Saturday at 3:30 Eastern time. But if Hopkins is starting quarterback, UTSA I think has a little harder time to take care of this one. Doesn't mean I don't think they can do it. I'm still taking UTSA to win this football game, but I don't know if this is one of those statement games, like you said. I don't know if this is one of those games where they can make a statement. I think this is one they're gonna have to grind out, and I think if that's a statement in itself, then all means yes, I agree with you. But this is going to be their toughest challenge, in my opinion, to the rest of the year to go to 10-2. On that last caveat here, with UAB, you said, can this be an opportunity? If they lose, can they still make a bowl game? They got to win 2 of the next 4. They have UTSA, North Texas, LSU, and La Tech. You can give La Tech maybe the win here, but they have to find another win between UTSA this week, North Texas, and LSU. That's tough. So their chances get very slim if they can't take this win against the Roadrunners.
And the problem with UAB is they have yet to put together 4 quarters of a football game, even in the games that they've won. And last week they let FAU back in opportune penalties. They're not really turning the ball over as much as it might seem, but in defensive lapses late, they have not been able to put together 4 quarters of football. And to even keep this, I thought I just couldn't find a line. And now when you say it's even, I don't get it. Tough place to play. Absolutely. Really loyal, knowledgeable football fans there in Birmingham. Absolutely. But, on paper, on how their schedules have played out for both sides, how UTSA is not at least a touch through it, I don't get it. I really don't get it. I certainly will be looking to place some wagers on UTSA.
There you go.
And
Nice.
and maybe even parlay it, do a wheel around UTSA because that's how confident I am that they're going to win this football game.
All right, cool. I want to hear from you guys. Are you confident with UTSA, or do you think UAB won this football game? Comment below your score predictions on this football game. Let's see who can get the closest or who's right. Maybe there's something in store for you if you get it completely correct.